summer kitchen. It helps keep the house cool during the summertime. Okay, so while I'm cooking in here in the summertime, I have other things I've got to do in here besides just cooking. Because in the 1880s, did I get to go to the grocery store? Could I go to Walmart?
No.
Could I go to Kroger?
No.
Could I go to Myers or Giant Eagle?
No.
So I couldn't go to the grocery store and buy my food. I had to grow my food. When you walked down the lane, you walked right by my garden. Did anybody take a peek into the garden?
No.
No? Right now, there's some things growing in the garden, but not a whole lot. All of this rain has just pushed us back from gardening. So there's not a whole lot of things in my garden. And if there are things in the garden, they're starting to come out of the ground. They're maybe about this tall. So how many of you like green beans? So when I'm planting green beans in the summertime, and if they're only this tall, they're not producing the green bean pod, which is the actual bean itself, okay? So it's not producing anything right now. So if I want to eat green beans today, I had to think about it last year. And the reason why I had to think about it last year was because I could not go to the grocery store. So in the summertime last year, I was thinking about green beans next spring. Green beans all winter long. So I do something called preservation. Preservation means to keep and to store things over a long period of time. And one way that I preserve things is by jars. Remember those green beans I was just talking about?
Yeah.
Those look like green beans, right?
Yeah.
If I would go to your house today and I would open up your cupboards, would I find a can of green beans?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I probably would. And if I would open that can of green beans, how would I open it?
What's the lid?
If I go to your house and get a can of green beans, I can't twist the lid. And
You
you
have
say,
to open it.
you're right, a can opener. Well, in the 1880s, I have cans of green beans. This is what I consider a can of green beans. But it's in a glass jar, and it's got a red rubber ring, and it's got a lid. So I get to unscrew my jars to get my vegetables out of them. But I'm not going to open this up because I want this to stay good. I've already eaten my dinner today, so I don't need to eat this. Excuse me. So I don't want to open it right now. I want to be able to keep it for another day when I'm ready to eat my green beans. So what happens in the middle of summer is I take a big pot of water, about this big, okay, so if I was a big pot of water right here, okay, I would take several jars, about 7 jars. I'd shove green beans down on the inside of them, pour hot water over top of those green beans in the jar, add some salt to the top of the green beans, take my red rubber ring, I'd place that down over top of the edge, screw my lid all the way down. Put it in that big pot of water, because I've got a big pot of water with the 7 jars in it, okay? And I stick that on top of my stove. And I let that water around those green beans boil. And what is happening at that point is this red rubber ring is starting to get sticky. Okay, it's starting to get sticky. And with that, it is sticking the jar and the lid together. Nice and sticky. Okay? And with that, it's going to seal all of the green beans inside of the jar. Nothing can come out of that. Okay? So nothing's going to come out of my green beans until I open the jar and break the seal open. Now, I wonder, has anybody ever opened a brand new jar of jelly before? One that's never been opened before at home? Brand new jar of jelly. What does that jar of jelly do when you open that brand new jar after you
It wiggles.
after you go never been opened before, what does it do?
Stays.
It stays on, doesn't it? It's hard to break that seal because you still have to break the seal in a jar. But it makes a funny noise. I bet you it goes.
That is loud.
Yeah, it pops. The middle of it pops because once you break that seal, all the air is rushing back into it, and the seal's been broken. So with the seal being broken, you have to go stick it in the refrigerator, right? You stick your jars in the refrigerator. So if you have a jar of jelly, or a jar of pickles, or a jar of applesauce, all of those things, if they've been opened for the first time, they've gone into a refrigerator. Well, when I go to open my jars, it makes the same exact noise. Because I'm breaking the seal, all the air is rushing into it. Sit down, people behind you can't see. So with that, we have the seal broken. I would need to eat it right away. So that's why I'm not going to open it right now.
What's that little bean?
That right there, that's a green bean.
It's growing.
No, it's not. It's not growing.
But why is it orange?
That's just the color of the bean on the